Talking to other people with the same illness is a really big part of what helps you cope with something like ME, both emotionally and also in practical ways. For a start, you really need to talk to other sufferers to find out where all the good information is and, what are the myths about the illness, especially because our advocacy groups are so completely useless. We tell each other, which books to buy, which books to avoid. There are so many more bad books than good. And, we talk about symptoms as well. There's a lot of discussion of symptoms that goes on in different support groups, which is really important because, so many of the lists of supposedly ME symptoms have very little to do with ME. Or, if they do, they still leave a lot out. Even if there isn't a treatment necessarily for a particular symptom, just finding out that other people with the illness are experiencing the same thing can really help. Like a lot of people with ME have sleep paralysis. You wake up paralysed for anywhere from a couple of minutes to an hour or more at a time. I had that symptom for years before I met anyone else who had it or even read anything about it. I thought it was just me that had sleep paralysis, and eventually I spoke to other sufferers about it, and so many of them thought it was only them that had it as well. We all thought, it was just something that only we had. We didn't even know if it was part of the ME or not. But sleep paralysis is a really common ME symptom. A lot of us have it. It just really helps to know that it's not just you living with things like that. Even if knowing that you're not alone doesn't really help the symptom in any way, it does make it a lot less scary. I've met a lot of really wonderful people online that have ME, which is really good, but also kind of really bad as well because of the position that they're in. A lot of these just really lovely people are dealing with just so much abuse from their families and also abuse from the medical system, because of the ignorance surrounding ME and the confusion between ME and CFS. Some people with ME that I know are actually facing being forced to participate in exercise programs at the moment. Exercise programs are the worst possible treatment for ME. These programs threaten these people's actual lives quite possibly. We worry that if these treatments do happen, that our friends might actually die. So fellow sufferers are a great source of support, but at the same time it can be really upsetting and confronting and frustrating talking to them as well because, people with ME, so many of them, are just living through hell, in large part because of all the misinformation surrounding the illness and propaganda. And on top of that, there's also just the illness itself, which just leaves a lot of us just so ridiculously ill. 25% of people that have ME have severe ME and are wheelchair-bound, housebound or bedbound. And that includes young kids and teenagers as well, not just adults. And people can remain severely affected for a couple of years or even decades at a time. For some people that have ME, their contact with, an online support group for people with ME is their only real support. It's the only place that anyone has a kind word for them. My family are really great about my illness, most of them now, but for a lot of people with ME, their families just put them through absolute hell because they believe everything they're told about, fatigue sufferers and CFS. They believe that all of that applies to their family member who has ME. There's the assumption that, positive thinking and exercise could get them well if they wanted to. It's just ridiculous. Like, you just would not believe how awful some families are to just these very, very, very sick, very disabled people. The whole CFS thing just has so much to answer for.